Hello all. Today we will discuss chapter 3, Arts of the Mauryan period. 6th century BCE marks the beginning of a new religious and social movements in the Gangetic Valley in the form of Buddhism and Jainism, which were part of the Shraman tradition. Both religions became popular as they opposed the Varna system and Jadi systems of the Hindu religion. Magadha emerged as a powerful kingdom and consolidated its control over the other regions. By the 4th century BCE, Mauryas established their power, and by the 3rd century BCE, a large part of India was under Mauryan control. Ashoka emerged as the most powerful king of the Mauryan dynasty, who patronized the Shraman tradition in the 3rd century BCE. Religious practices had many dimensions and were not confined to just one particular mode of worship. Worship of yakshas and mother goddesses were prevalent during that time. So, multiple forms of worship existed. Nevertheless, Buddhism became the most popular social and religious movement. Yaksha worship was very popular before and after the advent of Buddhism, and it was assimilated in the Buddhism and Jainism. Okay, pillar capital and abacus with stylized lotus can be seen here. Okay, pillars, sculptures, and rock cut architecture. Construction of stupas and viharas as part of monastic establishments became part of the Buddhist tradition. However, in this period, apart from the stupas and viharas, stone pillars, rock cut caves, and monumental figure sculptures were carved at several places. The tradition of constructing pillars is very old, and it may be observed that erection of pillars was prevalent in the Achaemenid Empire as well. But the Mauryan pillars are different from the Achaemenid pillars. The Mauryan pillars are rock-cut pillars, thus displaying the carver's skills, whereas the Achaemenid pillars are constructed in pieces by a mason. Stone pillars were erected all over the Mauryan Empire with inscriptions engraved on them. The top portion of the pillar was carved with capital figures like bull, lion, elephant, etc. All the capital figures are vigorous and carved, standing on a square or circular abacus. Abacuses and are decorated with stylized lotuses. Some of the existing pillars with capital figures were found at Basara, Bakira, Lauria, Nandangarh, Rampurva, Sangisa, and Sarnath. The mountain pillar capital found at Sarnath, popularly known as the Lion Capital, is the finest example of Mauryan sculptural tradition. It is also our national emblem. It is carved with considerable care, voluminous roaring lion figures firmly standing on a circular abacus, which is carved with the figures of a horse, a bull, lion, and elephant in vigorous movement, executed with precision, showing considerable mastery in the sculptural techniques. This pillar capital symbolizing Dhamma Chakra Pravartana, the first sermon by the Buddha, has become a standard symbol of this great historical event in the life of the Buddha. The monumental images of Yaksha, Yakinis, and animals, pillar columns with capital figures, rock-cut caves belonging to the 3rd century BCE have been found in different parts of India. It shows the popularity of Yaksha worship and how it became part of figure representation in Buddhist and Jaina religious monuments. Here you can see Yaksha Parkam. Okay. One of the distinguishing elements in all these images is their polished surface. Large statues of yakshas and yakinis are found at many places like Patna, Vidisha, and Mathura. These monumental images are mostly in the standing position. One of the distinguishing elements in all these images is their polished surface. The depiction of the faces is full in round. with pronounced cheeks and physiognomic detail. One of the finest example is a Yakshi figure from Didarganj, Patna, which is tall and well built. It shows sensitivity towards depicting the human physique. The image has a polished surface. Terracotta figurines show a very different delineation of the body as compared to the sculptures. Depiction of a monumental rock cut elephant at Dhauli in Orissa shows modeling in round with linear rhythm. It also has Ashokan rock edict. All these examples are remarkable in their execution of figure representation. The rocket cave, carved at Barabar Hills near Gaya in Bihar, is known as the Lomas Rishi cave. The facade of the cave is decorated with the semicircular chaitya arch of the as the entrance. The facade of the cave is decorated with the semicircular chaitya arch as the entrance. The elephant phrase carved in high relief on the chaitya arch shows considerable movement. The interior hall of this cave is rectangular with a circular chamber at the back. The entrance is located on the side wall of the hall. The cave was patronized by Ashoka for the Ajivika sect. The Lomas Rishi cave is an isolated example of this period, but many Buddhist caves of the subsequent periods were excavated in eastern and western India. Due to the popularity of Buddhism and Jainism, stupas and viharas were constructed on a large scale. However, there are also examples of a few Brahminical gods in this cultural representation. It is important to note that the stupas were constructed over the relics of the Buddha at Rajagraha, Vaishali, Kapilavastu, Allagappa, Ramagrama, Vedadippa, Pava, Kushinagar, and Pippalvina. The textual tradition also mentions construction of various other stupas on the relics of the Buddha at several places, including Avanti and Gandhara, which are outside the Gangetic Valley. Stupa, Vihara, and Chaitya are part of Buddhist and Jaina monastic complexes, but the large number belongs to the Buddhist religion. One of the best examples of the structure of a stupa in the 3rd century BCE is at Bhairath in Rajasthan. Okay, it is a very grand stupa having circular mount with a circumambulatory path. The great stupa at Sanji, which will be discussed later, was built with bricks during the time of Ashoka, and later it was covered with stone. Okay, later it was covered with stone and many new additions were made. Subsequently, many such stupas were constructed, which shows the popularity of Buddhism. From the 2nd century BCE onwards, we get many inscriptional evidences mentioning donors and at times their profession. The pattern of patronage has been a very collective one, and there are very few examples of royal patronage. Okay. Patrons range from lay devotees to Gahapatis and kings. Donations by the guilds are also mentioned at several sites. However, there are very few inscriptions mentioning the names of artisans, such as Kanhat Pitalkora and his disciple Balaga at Kondain caves. Artisans categories like the stone carvers, goldsmiths, stone polishers, carpenters, etc. are also mentioned in the inscriptions. The method of working the lion capital discovered more than 100 years ago at Sarnath, okay, near Varanasi, is generally referred to as Sarnath lion capital. Okay. Elephant Dhauli, Lomas Rishi cave entrance detail. Okay. Lion capital at Sarnath. Okay, you can see them here. This is one of the finest examples of sculpture from the Mauryan period, built in commemoration of the historical event of first sermon or the Dhammachakra Pravartana. Dhammachakra Pravartana by the Buddha at Sarnath. The capital was built by Ashoka. The capital originally consisted of five component parts. The shaft, which is broken in many parts now, a lotus, bell base, a drum on the bell base with four animals proceeding clockwise, the figures of four majestic adored lions, the crowning element, Dharam Chakra, a large wheel, was also a part of this pillar. Okay. However, this wheel is lying in a broken condition and is displayed in the side museum at Sarnath. The capital without the crowning wheel and the lotus base has been adopted as the national emblem of the independent India. Okay. Now kept in the Archaeological Museum at Sarnath, the capital has four lions firmly seated back to back on a circular abacus. The lion figures of the capital are very impressive and massive. The monumentality of the image is easily noticeable. The facial musculature of the lions is very strong. The inverse lines of the lips and its subsequent effect on the projection at the end of the lips show the sculptor's observation for naturalistic depiction. The lions appear as if they have held their breath. The lines of the mane are sharp and follow the conventions that were in practice during that time. The surface of the sculpture is heavily polished, which is typical of the Mauryan period. Their curly manes have protruding volume. The weight of the body of each lion is firmly shown by the stretched muscles of the feet. The abacus has the depiction of a chakra wheel having 24 spokes in all four directions, and a bull, a horse, an elephant, and a lion. Between every chakra is finely carved. Which are those animals? Bull, horse, elephant, lion. Okay. The motif of the chakra becomes significant as a representation of the Dhamma chakra in the entire Buddhist art. Each animal figure, despite sticking to the surface, is voluminous, its posture creating monument in the circular abacus. Despite having limited space between each chakra, these animal figures display considerable command over the depiction of movement in a limited space. The circular abacus is supported by an inverted lotus capital. Each petal of the lotus is sculpted, keeping in mind its density. The lower portion has curved planes neatly carved. Being a pillar image, it was conceived to be viewed from the all side, thus there are no foundations or fixed viewpoints. A lion capital has also been found at Sanji, but is in a dilapidated condition. The motif of lion capital pillar continued even in the subsequent period. Okay. Didarganj Yakshini can be seen here. Didarganj Yakshini. The life-sizing standing image of Yakshini holding a chauri fly whisk from Didarganj near modern Patna is another good example of the sculptural tradition of the Mauryan period. Kept in Patna Museum, it is a tall, proportioned, freestanding sculpture in round made sandstone with a polished surface. The chauri is held in the right hand, whereas the left hand is broken. The image shows the sophistication in the treatment of form and medium. The sculpture's sensitivity towards the round muscular body is clearly visible. The face has round, fleshy cheeks, while the neck is relatively small in proportion. The eyes, nose, and lips are sharp. Folds of muscles are properly rendered. The necklace beads are in full round, hanging to the belly. The tightening of garment around the belly creates the effect of a bulging belly. The lower garment has been rendered with great care. Every fold of the garment on the legs is shown by protruding lines clinging to the legs, which also create a somewhat transparent effect. The middle band of the garment falls till the feet. Thick bell ornaments adorn the feet. The image stands firmly on its legs. Heaviness in the torso is depicted by heavy breasts. The back is equally impressive. The hair is tied in a knot at the back. The bear is back. Drapery at the back covers the both legs. The fly whisk in the right hand is shown with incised lines continued on the back of the image. Okay. Artisans categories like stone carvers, goldsmiths, stone polishers, carpenters, etc. are also mentioned in the inscriptions. The method of working was collective in nature, and at times only a specific portion of the monument is said to have been patronized by a particular patron. Traders recorded their donation along with their place of origin. Stupa worship, Barhut, okay, is seen here. Okay, in the subsequent centuries, stupas were elaborately built with certain additions like the enclosing of the circumambulatory path with railings and sculptural decoration. There were numerous stupas constructed earlier, but expansions or new additions were made in the 2nd century BCE. The stupa consists of a cylindrical drum and a circular anda with a harmiga and chatra on the top, which remain consistent throughout with minor variations and changes in shape and size. Apart from the circumambulatory path, gateways were added. Thus, with the elaborations in stupa architecture, there was an ample space for the architects and sculptors to plan elaborations and to carve out images. During the early phase of Buddhism, Buddha is depicted symbolically through footprints, stupas, lotus throne, chakra, etc. These indications either symbol worship or paying respect, or at times depicts historization of the life events. Gradually narrative became a part of the Buddhist tradition. Thus, events from the life of Buddha, the Jataka stories were depicted on the railings and torrents of the stupas. Many synoptic narrative, continuous narrative, and episodic narrative are used in the pictorial tradition, while events from the life of the Buddha became an important theme in all the Buddhist monuments. The Jataka stories also became equally important for sculptural decorations. The main events associated with the Buddha's life, which were frequently depicted, were events related to the birth, renunciation, enlightenment, Dhammachakra Pravartana, Mahaparinibbana, death. Among the Jataka stories that are frequently depicted are Chadanda Jataka, Vidur Pundida Jataka, Ruru Jataka, Sibi Jataka, Vesandra Jataka, and Shama Jataka. So we have completed chapter 3. Thank you for listening to me. We'll see you next class. Thank you very much. Bye.